I grew up in West Virginia. I'm the son of immigrants from India. My mom grew up in Delhi. My dad grew up in Madras. I was very sick as a kid. I had typhoid, recovered, became very fit. That's why always people see me running and very athletic. I became a top tennis player, won a state championship, and then went into college and played there. College, when I had the opportunity of meeting former President Jimmy Carter, I was able to work at the Carter Center. And that really had a profound impact where I saw an ex-president do so much for the country.
People born in those families, they go after either in a medical profession or in a banking sector or most likely in an IT sector, but you chose politics.
Morrisville was a lot smaller in 2011. It was a few thousand people, maybe 10,000 people. Wasn't as developed as it is today. So to be a part of that experience for 14 years has been amazing to see, the cricket fields, Church Street Park. We're having a downtown come in Morrisville in a few months, breaking ground. Go for every shot you can. And you're not going to win every point. But the greatest champions are the ones that don't look at the point they lost, but the next point. I love to do imitations. That's how I have fun. So I impersonate people. I could do that some other time for fun. I did Donald Trump at the council retreat with closed doors, and everyone thought it was the president. So that was pretty fun.
Hello and welcome to Nepal Talks Presents Keep Talking podcast, where I am to present you successful entrepreneurs and influential personalities so you can get inspired on an everyday basis. Today I have an extreme pleasure to be in conversation with Steve Rao. Steve comes from Morrisville and he's running for Wake County Commissioner. I will let him explain and also talk about his election campaigns. Steve, first of all, tell us about yourself. Where do you come from? How did you land in this political journey, and what your successes were in the early days? How it was, for you? Was it hard? Was it very easy? All of those questions could be answered, but let's begin with, where do you come from?
Well, I grew up in West Virginia. I'm the son of immigrants from India. My mom grew up in Delhi. My dad grew up in Madras, now known as Chennai. My grandfather was a major in World War II for the British Army, then the Indian Army, and he was a rags to riches story. He ended up leaving the military, getting a job at Voltas, which is an Indian electric company, and became the general CEO of that company, and retired early, and encouraged my father, who was a surgeon, to come to the United States. So they ended up in New York and Connecticut, and then they ended up in West Virginia, where my dad's best friend was, and they were the first two Indian doctors. My dad's best friend just passed away just last week. A sad day for the family. They knew him for about 65 years, and that was my background. And I grew up in I was very sick as a kid. I had typhoid, recovered, became very fit. That's why always people see me running and very athletic. I became a top tennis player, won a state championship, and then went into college and played there, and then had a good life. And I met my wife in college, which was great, and at Emory University, and she was my best friend. And one thing that really impacted, I went to law school and eventually became a lobbyist in West Virginia. Worked there, where I got to know the governor, Joe Manchin, where he was a state senator, Rockefeller, who was a U.S. senator, a lot of West Virginia politicians. But it was in college when I had the opportunity of meeting former President Jimmy Carter. I was able to work at the Carter Center, and that really had a profound impact where I saw an ex-president who passed away just, a couple of weeks ago, do so much for the country. And I actually took a class that he lectured at. It had a profound impact on me.
People born in those families, they go after either in a medical profession or in a banking sector or most likely in an IT sector, but you chose politics. That was going to be my next question, but you said, you work closely with Jimmy Carter. Tell us something more about that.
Well, and first of all, I majored in political science. I was a serious girlfriend, only had one girlfriend, and knew after 1 year, 2 years, I was going to marry her, Como, my wife, and we've been married 31 years. And so I knew I didn't want to marry a doctor. And so I went, my parents said, well, you can either do law, or, so I really wanted to be a journalist, which is kind of ironic because I do so much media work now and I have a daughter that's a journalist. But that's why I ended up going in a different path. But with respect to President Carter, what was amazing was to see kind of like he lost the presidential election and he came back, started the Carter Center, and he was able to do a lot of really neat things, working to work on monitoring free and fair elections in Haiti. He worked on guinea worm, making sure that we researched how to look at this disease in many of the African countries. And he also, with his wife Rosalind, built homes for Habitat Humanity. So as a young 18-year-old, seeing such a great American president do so much really had an impact on me. And, when I left Emory, I worked for a while, went to law school, and but that instilled in me a notion of service. And that's really what kind of the spark that came at. I said, I want to do something. And so the opportunity came to run for office.
What made you come to North Carolina, and when you started in 2011 as a first Asian American official, to be elected in the state of North Carolina? How was the journey like from that life coming into the politics, in active politics in the state of North Carolina?
Well, what happened was I had moved here in 2000. I was transferred for work. I was raising venture capital money for a technology company. And then our daughters were born, our kids were born, the grandparents moved here. And my father-in-law was a colonel in the U.S. Air Force as an Indian American, and my mother-in-law was also a colonel. They were both from Gujarat. But he had very strong political skills, and I ran for county commissioner in 2010. He helped me a lot, along with my father. I lost a close race, and then a year later, Tom Murray, who was in the legislature, who was on the council at that time, went to the legislature, so there was a new seat. And Tom actually called me and my family and said, Steve should run for my seat. I actually didn't want it. I was so tired after running for Wake County Commissioner, but I ended up running and winning a 2-year term. And then got reelected and have been reelected 4 times as the top vote getter. And it was really great. When I got to Morrisville was a lot smaller in 2011. It was a few thousand people, maybe 10,000 people. Wasn't as developed as it is today. So to be a part of that experience for 14 years has been amazing to see, the cricket fields, Church Street Park. We're having a downtown come in Morrisville in a few months, breaking ground. The tremendous diversity we have with Nepali community, Nepal Day, Indian community. We're the home to almost every nation in the world, and also a real hub of innovation. Some of the stuff we're doing in tech and innovation, which I'm leading our efforts in Morrisville, has been fascinating.
You go to the Nepalese community event, each and every event you've been invited to. You go to, Indian community events. You go to other immigrants community events. Why are you going into those events, and what are you getting out of those events?
Well, I think it's great to, being the first is, the best part about being the first is you're not the last. And so now we have, Satish Girmela, who's running for mayor, Sarika Bansal and Kerry, other elected officials. It's great. Yalu is in the legislature. And I think that one of the reasons I go is it's as a son of immigrants, I didn't really, wasn't surrounded with this much diversity. Like, I read about Nepal, knew it was near the Himalayas, but I never really had met anyone from Nepal. When the joke is, I grew up in West Virginia when the food was sweet, and we went to a doctor's house, I knew they were Gujarati. If we had fish, I knew they were from Bengal. If we had rasam and rice, then I knew it was South Indian food from Mysore, or maybe Tamilian food, right? But here, seeing so many Indians, I've been able to learn so much, about Andhra Pradesh, about Telangana, about different festivals I didn't know. So that's one reason I go, is to learn about this. And then you end up building relationships, and now there's so many events. Nepal Day, which started when we had this idea of having a day celebrating Nepal, which is always in April, and then Diwali and Holi. These are all great events now the town is sponsoring, right? And Kerry is sponsoring. So I think that's why I go. I'm trying to not go to as many, especially now that I'm running for a higher office. I'm trying to get around Wake County. It's a really big county, but it's quite fascinating.
What was the situation like back in 2010 when you ran for an office, and now you are running for the same office after 15 years? Did you face any kind of challenges back then, or was it super easy for you to run for an office, even though you lost that election?
Well, it was really hard. I mean, I was running against an incumbent, Tony Gurley, who's a friend of mine. He's a Republican, but he was the chairman of the county commission at the time. And I traveled over 60,000 miles in my car. I won the nomination, but winning a general election was tough. And it was really hard when I lost. I remember that day I got a call from Janet Cowell, who at that time was state treasurer. She wrote me a nice letter. She's now the mayor of Raleigh, and that meant a lot to me. And then, I felt, really like was really burned out, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to take some time off, and I'm going to, take a break. And then all of a sudden, another opportunity came, and I had the name recognition. I won a smaller office, but I think it was challenging. It was also challenging because I didn't really have a body of work to speak to. It's a little bit easier now as I'm running for the same office, and for Wake County Commission, there's a new seat to represent all of the people of Wake County, an at-large seat, 2 of them. And I'm running for one of those seats because I believe that Wake County is a $2 billion budget. They fund education, they fund housing, they fund human services. They can help with economic development, creating jobs, technology, innovation, hotel occupancy tax, supporting small businesses. So it's a great way for me to go and expand the great work I've done in Morrisville. So that's why we're running again.
Steve, coming from an immigrant family, right? Did you have any kind of bitter experience running into politics in terms of discrimination, in terms of any other hurdles you may have experienced?
I don't think I really did. I do remember one situation in 2010 on the campaign where, it was a religious preacher, and he was, just saying if you're not it was like his personal opinion, but if you weren't a Christian, you weren't an American, and I felt awkward and out of place. And at that time, it was hurt me because my in-laws were in the U.S. Air Force. They were Hindus, so I walked out of the church kind of upset and didn't really know how to deal with it. But then, Tony Gurley is such a good man. He actually called me, my opponent, and he said, "Steve, I'm so sorry that they mixed patriotism with religion. That's so wrong." And that meant a lot to me. And then Lauren Freeman, who was the DA, called me. So it showed me that even in politics, she's a Democrat, but it was really great. She was actually running for the DA, but it felt really it hurt. That was the only time. But I think with our communities, Indian community and Nepali community, Asian communities have done very well in the U.S. And I think that that's really, even today, when you look at, Sanjay Gupta on the news, you look at Fareed Zakaria, you look at legislators like, Ro Khanna, Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, Kamala Harris running for the president of the United States, and now, even on the Republican side, Vivek Ramaswamy running for governor of Ohio. I think that there's a sense that, Asians are belonging on the main stage. We've come so far. So I actually think it's easier now than it was even, 15 years ago because of the success we've had as a community.
The reason that I asked that question is, you are an inspiration to many people who actually would like to step into politics and they belong to an immigrant family. It is very important that they know what the struggle looks like, what the hurdles they may face, and what the taste of a success looks like. Now, we've talked about you, and then you said you didn't have any such bitter experience as such, but what does a success look like for you? So what have you achieved in the last 15 years people could get inspired with?
Well, I have a track record of results. It's really great to see.
Tell us more.
Well, and I will say, I'm hearing a lot of names.
I can give you this.
Well, no, I got a photographic memory, but I have a track record of results. In Morrisville, we've had a lot of success. We've invested over 15 million or even 20 million in our parks, our greenways and parks. Our brand is Live Connected, Live Well. And I want to take that brand now to Wake County, but we connected greenways. We expanded Church Street Park. We have cricket pitches now. We put the statue of Mahatma Gandhi. I led the efforts to bring Gandhi statue there. We have the Major League Cricket in Church Street Park, which is a real accomplishment. So that's been a big accomplishment. We're an all-America city now. Rated consistently as one of the top places to live, work, and play. Economic development. We now have an economic development director, but a lot of really big companies like, Apple and Meta is coming to the region, and now we've got Forge Battery, which is a EV battery manufacturer. So that's exciting, and we have a downtown coming. That was a vision that's coming to reality now. We're breaking ground on a new downtown in Morrisville. The biggest thing I'm proud of is also technology. I'm in the tech sector. I'm a lobbyist, and technology companies, very proficient in AI, and we had an idea of using technology in Morrisville to better serve the residents. So we have what we call smart cities, where we're leveraging devices and sensors to manage data. So today in Morrisville, I can manage my facility usage. I can manage when my parks are being used, when my pickleball courts are being used, when my tennis courts are being used. We're winning national awards, and so it's been great. And now we're incorporating AI into that, where we're going to actually have a chatbot called Morris the Cricket, which is going to ask basic questions, answer basic questions for residents. We have an app called the Morrisville Central, where you can report a problem, you can track events. Revamping our website. Just last week, we had an Innovate Morrisville session. So this is all really exciting because we now, and I want to run on that record. So one of my visions is I want to take the smart cities, and I want to, that we've had in Morrisville, and I want to expand that to every city in Wake County to make us a smart county. I want to take AI and do the same thing through AI, generative AI, so we can automate services for citizens and provide them a better experience. And all that while adding that to the economic development, because I want to make Wake County a startup county, and I've had a lot of success with lots of startups growing in Morrisville, but we can do that. We can grow small businesses, particularly in AI, even though and we have to invest in training and education to retrain workers that are being displaced. But we're doing that in Morrisville at Wake Tech. RTP, we have a School of Life Sciences, which is an early career college, the Lilly School of Bioinformatics there at Wake Tech. So, I mean, I could go on. And affordable housing, something I've championed. We just negotiated a development where 30% of the housing units are going to be affordable housing. So all of the areas, whether it's public safety, economic development, affordable housing, parks, cricket, technology, all my 14 years. So I'm so grateful that I've had the chance of being in one place where I was able to get more done than if I had gone to the legislature.
Well, that is all of the things that you've mentioned is great. I cannot admire enough for your contribution to what you've done and what the Morrisville has grown to. But you are coming out of Morrisville now and expanding to Wake County and running for commissioner in the county of Wake. How is your skill? How is your experience? How is your knowledge that you've accumulated over the last 15 years is going to help the entire Wake County with the position that you running for?
Well, one of my close friends is John Chambers, who ran Cisco Systems, and he gave me some advice that when he's written a book called Connecting the Dots, and it's all about executing a strategy, having a playbook that you can turn to. And I've really run, with Morrisville, I'm an athlete, so I look at it like a football game. I had these plays I wanted to execute, technology, economic development. I'm a salesman. I get on the phone and I call top leaders. I brought the Indian ambassador here last year. I've worked with hosting Nepali ambassador. These are people I know, and I think having that ability to be a spokesperson in a smaller town has been really great. I think it's fair to say that I've been one of the ambassadors of Morrisville, and my work in media and television has broadcast that across the state and country. So I want to take that same skill set now to the Wake County Commissioners, which is a $2 billion budget, but a lot more we can do. We can help I can help people in Cary and Morrisville, whether it's seniors is a big deal. 55% of the county is seniors, so we need to have lower housing costs for seniors, lowering healthcare costs, expanding EMS service for our parents and our grandparents so they go into cardiac arrest or have an incident. This is what I want to do. I want to expand affordable housing. I want to grow innovation and technology in every city in the county. I want to support small business. You're a small business owner. I mean, for every business that we support, you and I know Elaine Marshall, she said if we increase, there's a new study that came out by her office, Secretary of State's office, that said if we increase the performance of startups and small businesses by 5%, we can create 25,000 jobs. And it's getting competitive. So I want to make sure those jobs are in Wake County, not Johnson County. But that's exactly what I want to do. I have a proven record of accomplishments. I'm not running for this because I want to be an elected official. I'm running because I can point to it and say, this is what I've done.
You talked about Elaine Marshall. I had an opportunity to have a podcast with her in her own office back in 2024, and she had a very positive review about you, your energy, and your presence on many occasions she has been involved with. All of the people that I've talked with, they don't have anything other than the positive, review about you. They talk about your articulative skills, oratory skills. They talk about your presence. How do I manage, first of all, create such a good public relationships, and how to manage it?
Well, following up on my playbook, like for me, I think in anything in life, you have to look at, I play my business life, my politics, I have a set of plays, and you got to execute those plays. So like my Wake County playbook, I pretty much laid it out. Those are the plays that I want to do. But I think in an athletic performance, if like a tennis match, for example, as an athlete, I always focused on developing 2 or 3 weapons better than anyone else, defending your weaknesses, and go for every shot you can. And you're not going to win every point. But the greatest champions are the ones that don't look at the point they lost, but the next point. So that's exactly how I've been able to develop a good public persona. I really believe that my work in media, which was unexpected, I never in my life 14 years ago thought I would be on PBS Carolinas on 2 shows. I never thought I would host a show or be an analyst on WPTF. I never thought I was going to be able to write for WRL TechWire. So in addition to being a politician, I've now emerged as a thought leader, and my communication skills have really been enhanced. I want to get better, but I really believe I'm one of the best communicators in the state. And I think that that's really helped me, because I think when you have the camera or you have the mic and you have something important to say, something substantive, people will listen to it. But the greatest satisfaction is knowing that people will go back to something I said on TV or radio or an article I wrote and say, gosh, Steve's really written that. I got an email today about, Steve, I wrote an article on AI, making Wake County an AI county. And someone said, hey, I'm doing this stuff. I'd love to talk to you about it. So this is what I've learned is learn your domain experience, become a master at it. Read. I read a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read physically the books because I like the pages turning. I'm always thinking. And I'm very disciplined. I start my day at 4:30 in the morning on emails. I work out. Now, after COVID, I work from home if I'm not traveling.
I still get your newsletters.
Yeah, I get my newsletter, but I get up at 4:30, 5 in the morning. I go to bed at 8. I run 7 and a half minute miles a day at the age of 53. I'm extremely physically fit, and that's my edge. I mean, I want to make sure, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm hoping I win. There's never a guarantee, but I will tell you this: I'm going to outwork anyone that runs, and I'm going to work so hard. But I love it because that's competition. You put yourself out there, you give it your best, and if it doesn't work out, you try the next time. And when you go into life with that approach, I think it gives you a positive attitude. So, and I'm really grateful for what I've done the last 14 years. And so I know that, I'm either going to win or lose this next election, but I'm really proud of the chapter I've had, and looking forward to going out on top. Very proud of writing a new chapter now, either as the next Wake County Commissioner or a former council member and media guy and community leader. So I got nothing to lose.
Absolutely. I've listened to a couple of your radio shows, but I haven't listened to all of those. Can you tell us something more about your radio shows? What do you talk about? What your show is all about?
Yes. So I host a show. I want to thank Ravi Chirakuri at Radio Naira, who gave me the opportunity to host a show called Leaders and Legends. And that's a show where we bring in different leaders and interview them about different things. So it's really great. I really enjoy it. And we just bring in leaders for 12 minutes and talk about different things. And I was, we're trying to sort of change that show a little bit. We're going to bring in more government leaders, and I'm going to work on booking more shows. So that's exciting. With WPTF, I'm kind of taking a little hiatus from there, but I was moderating a show called about Wake County. It was called Wake County Roundup. We bring in Wake County leaders, and oftentimes I would do commentary on a number of issues. And that's on WPTF radio, and that's 300,000 listeners a week. And then I also do 2 shows on PBS Carolinas. One is a show called State Lines, which is a really great show on issues on the state, where it's like a round table where they bring in your commentary. And I'm an analyst on Black Issues Forum, which is more for Black Americans. But that's kind of nice because that's a show once a month where I go on 150, 200,000 households around the state. And I'm there on the couch now on the new set. So it's me talking with one other person. So we're talking about the cutting edge issues. And then I write for TechWire. So that's really where I'm writing a lot more technology and economic development. So I do all of these things. And that's really brought my name out there as a thought leader. So, I hope that, I can get to a place where I can help more people. But the impact of conveying those messages has been great.
That's amazing, Steve. Being able to jump into different roles, right one after other, is something everybody wish to achieve for. And you've been working as a journalist, you've been working as a politician, you've been working as a business advisor and things as such, which is pretty amazing. For the sake of this conversation, we're almost at the end of it. I don't want to make it super long so people get tired of, it's
covered a lot.
We did, and especially with your, your way of explaining things. I think this makes sense for us to have you on our show as well. This is really a forum for anybody to express on what they're trying to do, and if we can support them in any way, we're always there when it comes to the community and the development of the community. At the end of it, I'd like to go a little bit personal with you and then ask you, what makes you happy? What was the last time you actually cried, and what was it for?
Well, I know. I just I try to follow Jimmy V's statement. He was the famous coach of NC State basketball, and he was dying of cancer. And he gave this famous speech. I would advise everyone to go listen to it. And he said, every day I do three things. You got to laugh, you got to cry, and you got to hug someone. So I try to do that every day. I hug my wife or my parents or my kids, and I listen to a funny joke. One of my best friends died tragically in 2011, and he was one of the funniest guys I've ever known. So I remember his jokes and I laugh. I love to do imitations. That's how I have fun. So I impersonate people. I could do that some other time for fun. And that makes me
We'd
laugh.
like to hear that, but on a separate conversation.
I did Donald Trump at the council retreat with closed doors, and everyone thought it was the president. So that was pretty fun. That was a side of Steve Rao people don't see very much. And I cry a lot of times. I love my family so much.